Good evening and welcome to the August 12th, 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. A meeting was held at 6 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall for clarification of the agenda. The following is the official agenda of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Discussion and commission action will be limited to those items on the agenda. Any citizen who wishes to address the commission shall first be recognized by the chair and shall give his or her first name for the record. First and last name for the record. If a citizen wishes to read documentation of any sort to the commission, he or she shall first seek permission from the chair. There's a 3-minute time limitation for public testimony to the commission. Agenda item number 1 tonight is roll call. Aislinn, will you call the roll, please?
Tony Chaddock.
Here.
Adam Dyer.
Here.
Dominic Hart.
Here.
Amy Mendoza.
Here.
Richard Phillips.
Here.
Jessica Richard.
Here.
Desiree Valladolid is excused this evening.
Thank you. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest or ex parte contact to report?
No.
Great. I've been invited to ask everyone to please silent their cell phones. Agenda item number 2 is approval of minutes. The commission may wish to approve the minutes from the clarification and regular meetings held July 8th, 2026. Is there any discussion by the commission on the July 8th, 2026 meeting minutes? With no further discussion, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes from July 8th, 2026.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Richards and a second by Geyer. Aislinn, will you call the vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Minutes.
Thank you. Before agenda item number 3, I will explain the public hearing procedure. The application presentation is limited to 10 minutes. There is a 3-minute limit on public testimony. Those presenting or testifying will state your name for the record. While giving testimony, questions and comments should be pertinent to the application and should be addressed only to the commission. During the public hearing, there should be no questions, comments, or applause from the audience. Should the meeting go longer than 8 p.m., the commission may take a scheduled 10-minute break. Commission members must make their decision regarding the application on facts already in the record and information presented during the public hearing. Protocol requires the commission members and audience be recognized by the commission chair prior to speaking. Now that I've read those, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is a public hearing preliminary plat for Century Commons. This time has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public regarding Fortnite Valley Gap LLC, which has submitted a preliminary plat application specifically to subdivide 19.19 acres, more or less, of land into 18 commercial lots. The subject parcel was recently annexed into the corporate boundaries of the city with a zoning designation of commercial general. Chapter 17 of Pocatello Municipal Code does not require that a minimum lot size be maintained for commercial lots. With that, I declare the public hearing open, and I would like to invite the applicant to come to the podium.
Merrill Quell representing the applicant from Sunrise Engineering, 600 East Oak Street. This is located, as said, is across from Century High School, and it's the 19 acres into 18 one-acre lots there, and it will be a commercial subdivision that will be laid out as it's being marketed once it is approved and recorded. That has 2 streets that has been we're asking to adjoin and enter into South 5th Avenue, which would be Dykeman Drive and Rahim Drive. Rahim Drive will have a 60-foot right-of-way, and Dykeman will have a 50-foot right-of-way. And the 2 cross streets of Gull and Manon will also be 50-foot right-of-ways there. There is 1 lot that will take care of the road drainage. It will be a shared lot with one of the commercial developments that goes in there and with an easement on that. And then we plan on hooking into utilities there that are existing on 5th Street for water and sewer. that is pretty much the what we're doing and what we've shown there, and that we're able to take any questions later on, I guess,
Great.
or as needed.
Okay, thank you, Merrill. We'll now have a presentation by staff.
Sorry, I thought it was the city, but I didn't.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commission members. Matthew Lewis, Senior Planner with the City of Pocatello. As noted in the agenda item, Sunrise Engineering, on behalf of Portland Valley Gap LLC, has submitted a preliminary plat application specifically to subdivide 19.19 acres, more or less, of land into 18 commercial lots. The subject parcel was recently annexed into the corporate boundaries of the city with a zoning designation of commercial general. Chapter 17 of Municipal Code does not require that a minimum lot size be maintained for commercial lots. As noted, the parcel is directly east of Century High School and surrounds the student seminary building. The existing site grades range between 4 and 8%, sloping from northeast to southwest. Therefore, the future development will not be subject to Municipal Code Section 17.05.100. The application was reviewed by various city departments, including engineering, sanitation, streets, traffic, water, and water pollution control. And following review, numerous revisions were made, and currently what's before you meets all standards for approval. No comments were received from utilities. As noted, the proposed subdivision proposes 2 new roads via South 5th Avenue, Raheem Drive on the northwest, and Dykeman on the south. 2 additional roads are proposed in between the latter, thus providing interconnectivity within the development to adjacent properties. Notice was posted on the subject property on July 27th, 2026, and published in the Idaho State Journal on July 28th of 2026. All property owners within the 300-foot radius of the external boundaries of the subject property were provided notice of the public hearing. No written comments have been received from staff prior to this meeting. This concludes my presentation. City representatives are available for any questions, and we do have the preliminary plat up on the screen for you. But that concludes my presentation if you have questions.
Matthew, quickly, for the agenda, I know you said that we received no public comments from any of the utilities. Were there any public comments on this application, or were there any additional written public comments submitted for the record?
No, I have not received any.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff on the application?
Thank you.
Before starting public testimony, I would like to remind each person, when you come to the podium, you must state your name. Please remember to only address the commission, not the audience or the applicant. You have 3 minutes to testify and will be asked to stop when time runs out. Keep questions and comments pertinent to the application. Do not duplicate questions, concerns, or comments covered by previous testimony heard today. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to provide testimony in support of the application? Is there anyone here tonight who would like to provide testimony uncommitted to the application?
I have a question for the city.
We probably can't answer it. You're welcome to ask it as part of your presentation, and they might be able to answer it afterwards.
My name is Bill Schaefer, and I was just curious, have you done any studies on impact on mule deer migration in that area? Because I know that area is...
I think I actually can't answer that, and the answer to that is yes. That's part of any development, has to go through the migratory wildlife. There's a name for it, and I apologize that I don't know it off the top of my head, but that is taken into account.
I didn't hear anything about it. I heard everything else, but did they talk to Fish and Game or Sagebrush Step or?
Yeah. Like I said,
Mr. Chair, Commission members, I can perhaps try to answer that. Where the development is occurring possibly is actually outside of that. It's more up on the foothill part where you get on the flatter. So where you have South Fifth I think it's the 4,600 elevation, that is developable there. I think that code was changed about, not quite a year ago. So technically, it's not in the wildlife mule deer area.
okay, so if I understand correctly, the reason that a study wasn't done or submitted for Fish and Game is because it would be the same as if I were to go develop a piece of
Yeah,
property
and
right there in the middle of town.
Fish and Game gets notice of it just like they do utilities.
Yeah,
And it's not that you can't allow development. What they recommend are certain recommendations for vegetation, fencing. They don't want, chain link, that type of thing there. So that's, if you're going to get comments from Fish and Game, that's typically what you'll receive. They're going to say, no, you can't develop here.
okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to provide testimony uncommitted to the application? Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony opposing the application? Merrill, do you have any rebuttal of that? Okay. With no further testimony or rebuttal, I declare the public hearing closed. How does the commission wish to proceed? I would entertain discussion or a motion.
I motion to approve the preliminary plat application requested by Sunrise Engineering representing Portneuf Valley Gap LLC. Finding the application does meet the standards for approval under chapter 16.20.050 of Pocatello Municipal Code with the conditions listed in the staff report, and to authorize the chair or vice chairs to sign these findings of fact and decision.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by McCarg and a second by Guyer. Aislinn, will you call the vote, please?
Yes.
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 Great, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 4. Action item, public hearing map amendment for the address 215 West Halliday and 621 South Harrison. This time has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public regarding a map amendment request by Pro Equity Holdings LLC. The subject property, known as 215 West Halliday Street and 621 South Harrison Avenue, entails 0.39 acres more or less and is zoned light industrial with a future land use designation of mixed use. The request is to rezone the property from light industrial to residential, commercial, professional. I declare the public hearing open and invite the applicant to come forward.
Okay, that's
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Stuart Ward with Dioptra, 4880 Cloverdale and Chubbuck, representing the applicant. This is a rezone request for 2 parcels on Halliday and Harrison from light industrial to RCP. The property, the piece of property at 215 West Halliday has had a multifamily apartment on it. The building's been there since 1930. The one on Harrison was built in 1977, and it's also kind of a multifamily unit there. One of the reasons that we're in front of you today is the bigger apartment building on Halliday had a fire last fall, about a year ago. And with the light industrial zoning and the regulations to rebuild that, there was a lot of city code things that weren't going to be met in the time frame for structure damage like that. So the applicant figured that a rezone might be best where the current use in that area, even on that side of Harrison, is pretty much all RCP anyway. There's a lot of multifamily housing, single-family homes. There's some commercial, a little bit of light industrial there. The other half of the block along Main Street is all residential, or very similar, I guess, with RCP. And so we feel like this rezone fits the current uses of that area a lot better than the current zoning. And that by changing the zone, it doesn't affect the uses there at all, and it fits the current use better. Speaking with staff, they kind of agreed that a rezone in that area would make sense, and almost implied that they didn't understand why it was light industrial anyway, other than it's right across the street from the railroad tracks. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Questions for the applicant? Okay,
All right, thank you.
now hear from city staff.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Jim Anglesey, Long Range Planner for the city of Pocatello. Before you is an application to rezone property located at 215 West Halliday Street and 621 South Harrison Avenue from light industrial to residential, commercial, professional. The subject property is currently developed with 2 multifamily structures and 1 detached dwelling unit. Surrounding development consists of a mix of uses including industrial, commercial, and both single-family and multifamily residential. Although zoned light industrial, the existing uses in the area more closely resembles that of mixed use, which the future land use map suggests. The rezone to RCP would better reflect existing and desired development types for the area, especially with being in close proximity to downtown. As stated in code, the RCP zoning district is designed to accommodate a mix of residential, professional offices, and neighborhood commercial uses in close proximity to residential areas and major transportation facilities. Residential uses are permitted consistent with the high-density residential zoning district. Developments in the RCP zoning district are ideal to serve as a buffer between residential areas and commercial or industrial areas. If the site were to redevelop, the following use examples would be permitted by right: professional offices, motor vehicle servicing and repair, consumer services, retail, eating and drinking establishments, bed and breakfast, various civic or religious uses, and high-density residential. And based off the total square footage of the property, it would be eligible for infill development up to 19 residential units. Notice for the public hearing was posted on the subject property and published in the Idaho State Journal on July 28, 2026. All property owners within 300 feet of the subject property have been provided notice of the hearing. Staff has received no written comments regarding this agenda item. In consideration of the application, staff concludes that the proposed zoning map amendment is compliant with City Code Section 1702, 170E. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Questions for city staff? Jim, I have a question. This came up repeatedly during the South Fifth Annex and some of the other ones that we've seen over the years. We have what some perceive to be as a shortage of industrial zoning room. Does the city have any concerns at all about losing another piece of industrial zone ground?
Not in this area, because of its proximity to downtown. We took this into account during the future land use map changes. And as you see here, that whole area is designated as mixed use, especially because of it being so close to downtown. And so like it's already developed, we're trying to respect the current development of a mix of uses.
Great. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for city staff?
I'm curious, if there were no rezone, like what's the purpose of rezoning? Is it so that they can do further development on this area? Like they couldn't do any future development without the rezone?
Typically, where it's zone light industrial, any change to the structure or use itself would be considered non-conforming or grandfathered. And so they'd have to go through a special process in order to change or expand the use. And so changing it makes sense to where it's already developed that way, and they can alter it depending on whatever they want to do,
Because currently they cannot alter it even though it's already residential.
unless they change it to light industrial.
Okay,
Yep.
understood. Or from light industrial to
Yeah.
RCB.
Yeah, unless they change it from the current use to a light industrial use.
Oh, too light.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So that fire kind of just like got them in a bind, essentially.
As far as I understand, because they wanted to alter the building in some way.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, thanks, Jim. Is there anyone here tonight who'd like to provide testimony in support of the application? Is there anyone here tonight who'd like to provide testimony uncommitted to the application? Is there anyone here tonight who would like to provide testimony opposing the application? Does the applicant have any rebuttal to any of that?
No, unless you need more clarification on your question.
If you want to provide more. Yeah, more context, that'd be what the plan is, maybe.
Okay. Stuart Ward with Dioptra, representing the applicant. And the applicant is here tonight, so he may correct me if I get anything wrong. But so the purpose of the rezone is not necessarily to change the use of the building, but because it is zoned light industrial and there was, I guess you'd call it a natural disaster with the fire, there's a time limit on when they can rebuild that to this exact same use. And by the time they got new building plans and everything, they weren't going to meet that deadline. Their plan is to keep it multifamily housing on both structures or both parcels, but this just basically grants them a little bit more time to get all of their design finalized so they can rebuild essentially what was there.
What was already there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
So,
you for that.
did I get that right? Okay, good. I didn't lie to you. Okay, thank you.
Great. I declare the public hearing closed. How does the commission wish to proceed?
I move to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment application from Stuart Ward to rezone the subject property from light industrial to residential commercial professional, finding the application meets the standards for approval under section 17.02.170.e of the Pocatello City Code, and authorize the chair or vice chair to sign the findings of fact and recommendation.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Mendoza and a second by Richards. Aislinn, will you call the vote, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Great, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 5. This is for a public hearing, map amendment to the Trailside subdivision. This time has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public regarding a map amendment submitted by Ryan Hackett in partnership with NeighborWorks Pocatello. Subject property known as parcel number RPCPP053702 near Foothill Boulevard in Gathie entails 19.12 acres, more or less, and is zoned residential medium density residential medium density multifamily with a future land use designation of open space. The request is to rezone 2 acres, more or less, of the property to residential commercial professional and to amend the future land use designation to mixed use. I declare the public hearing open and invite the applicant to come forward.
Good evening. Name's Roger Fry. I'm Board of Directors, NeighborWorks Pocatello. Neighbors Pocatello is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It's requesting that 2 acres of lots 1 and 2 of the Trailside subdivision be rezoned to residential commercial professional, RCP, or from its existing zoning of residential multifamily, or RMM. This change in zoning would allow for a total of 48 units to be built. They would be 1-bedroom, 1-bath units, 2 separate phases, 24 units in each phase. Rents in these structures would be capped, and it'd be designated for affordable senior housing, ages 55 and up. 5 of the units would be designated to house the chronically homeless, and that's 5 in each building. The rezoning would also allow for use of the existing architectural designs that we use for Park Meadows 2. That's the smaller building located between 4th and 5th Street out towards Ross Park. That building, we believe, would fit into the environment pretty well, considering the elevation of the buildings across the street. It'd actually be a lower elevation than the 2-story structures across the street. The rezoning, again, would allow us to utilize the architectural plans for that project, which would keep the pricing and the cost down of the project, which allows us to compete and get the federal backing. Basically, we believe that this plan supports the comprehensive 2040 vision statements. It promotes connected, safe, accessible neighborhoods. It creates affordable housing for our town, promotes diversity by adding mature residents to the neighborhood. It utilizes civic collaboration. It's a joint effort between Community Development Block Grant Committee, Networks Pocatello, the City of Pocatello, and the federal government. Excuse me. It also creates authentic and affordable neighborhoods. Those are all our vision statements, part of the 7 vision statements for the comprehensive plan. The important thing about this location is the infrastructure is in place to get the structure put in with minimal costs again as well for that factor. All these cost savings contribute to the lower rents of the property. In closing, I've listened to testimonials from the Park Meadows residents that have existing 2 buildings we have so far. These are life-changing situations for these people. You know, they're like you and me. You know, they're people that just had a rough time in life, maybe medical issues, several different reasons, but for some reason they can't afford rent in today's housing situation that we have in town. The most surprising result that we've seen so far from these is that they actually form a small community within the community. These people become more active, they have a lot more self-esteem, and hopefully if you've seen some of the NeighborWorks meetings, you've seen some of the testimonies of these people. We believe that it's important to protect some of the most vulnerable residents of our city, and I believe this project would help do that. Last thing I wanted to mention is that we've had the question a lot of times, why this location? NeighborWorks, City of Pocatello, we've gone through multiple locations. This one, by far, first of all, allowed us with the infrastructure to keep our cost of the project down. Secondly, it allowed us to conform to the comprehensive 2040 plan for walkable neighborhoods, form-based code. We can picture residents living in a structure, being able to walk down a path going to Sacagawea Park and really enjoy the last days of years of their lives. With that, I'll open to any questions you might have.
Any questions from the council?
Yeah, so it's currently zoned medium density, which allows what, about 30 units?
31 units.
Okay.
So instead of 31 units, we're asking for 48 units. That does 2 things. One thing it does is it
Why
actually,
RCP instead of RH?
I'm sorry?
Why RCP instead of RH?
Because that conforms more to the 2040 plan. The walkable neighborhoods, as you guys know, or should know, we're looking at single-family homes transitioning into multifamily homes, transitioning into park areas. Now, for example, that neighborhood used to have Riverside Market, a little market there. This would allow for something like that to actually be included in that neighborhood as well. And again, keeping that neighborhood walkable, which is...
You have other plans besides just this you have other plans besides these 2 buildings?
Right now, just the 2 buildings. In the future, I know that the long-term planning for the city is looking at developing a Sacagawea Park area plan that would include everything from what open spaces would be designated, if there'd be wildlife corridors, routed through there. The land is, if you've seen it, it's an old gravel pit, so it's got quite an elevation change from one side to the other. As you're looking at it from Foothill, the left side, the high point on the left side is where the building would be located. Again, 2 acres of the 17 acres would be utilized for that section. As far as future plans, we hope that we can continue to keep the open space, take a look at wildlife corridors, and still add some single-family structures in there, which we believe is one of the main weaknesses of our housing here in Pocatello, the need for single-family, first-time home buyer residences. Any other questions?
You
Thank
said
you.
that you
Oh,
looked,
sorry.
You said you looked at some other locations. Would you mind sharing?
We've looked at Lower Ross Park, the far extension down at the far end of it where Parks and Recs has storage area. But that was actually designated also as open space and also as future development for Lower Ross Park, ball fields, just more amenities for the people. So we felt like that was, and the infrastructure there, of course, was not in place. That's old infrastructure that would have to be replaced, a lot of it, so. Another location was, and it was mentioned in social media, was across the road next to the water department on North Arthur. And that section was actually designated for the city, donated by the city for the Portland Valley Partners Community Garden, which we're happy to see. And hopefully that community garden will grow into that area and take up most of that chunk as well. The other thing is that area it's an old housing area that has old foundations and concrete blocks and water lines and things so again, the infrastructure was not in place at that site as well. We really hope that we can place these buildings in a place in the city that doesn't affect too much of the neighborhood around it, but also as it becomes a walkable neighborhood, it becomes a nice place for these people to live in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is building the units dependent upon getting federal funding?
It's actually, what happens is the developer, to entice a developer to build this type of low-income project, nobody's going to build unless we have some enticement. So the federal government does offer a large percentage tax break for building these types of developments. And then they're locked into these capped rates for a certain amount of time, 15 years, 30 years, typically, depending on which the project is, so.
So will they not be built if you don't get the funding
Well,
or the tax break?
I can answer that honestly. They could be, we never know with federal funding right now. As you all know, last year we lost a ton of funding and especially in the housing area. So we're hoping that we can take advantage in a timely fashion so that we can, frankly, so we can get 48 people off the street and into some decent housing, so.
Good question. Thank you. Other questions? Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you. Now hear from city staff.
Evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, Jim Anglesey, Long Range Planner for the city. Before you is an application to rezone 2 acres of approximately 19 acres of city-owned property located near the corner of Foothill Boulevard and Gathey Drive from residential medium-density multifamily, RMM, to residential commercial professional, RCP, and to amend the future land use map designation of open space to mixed use. The subject property is currently undeveloped, and a portion of the property is used as a stormwater collection pond. And prior to the city acquiring the subject property, Idaho Transportation Department had maintained a gravel pit on the property. Surrounding development consists of a mix of residential uses, including multifamily, single-family, townhomes, and mobile home parks, as well as recreational uses and open space. Everything within the area is either zoned RCP and RMM, as you see on the screen. As currently zoned, the property could be developed with residential uses by right at 15 units an acre. A rezone to RCP would allow 30 units an acre. In order to accommodate the 48 units proposed by NeighborWorks, the RMM zoning district in the RMM zoning district. The development would require just over 3 acres, whereas in RCP, the development would require just over 1.5 acres. As stated in code, the RCP zoning district is designed to accommodate a mix of residential, professional offices, and commercial uses in close proximity to residential areas and major transportation facilities. Residential uses are permitted consistent with the high-density residential zoning district. Developments in the RCP zoning district are ideal to serve as a buffer between residential areas and commercial or industrial areas. If the site were to develop or redevelop, the following use examples will be permitted by right in RCP. Professional offices, motor vehicle servicing and repair, consumer services, retail, eating and drinking establishments, bed and breakfast, various civic or religious uses, and high-density residential. And based off the total square footage, the 2-acre portion of the property considered for rezoning would be eligible for up to 60 residential units. Be advised that the review criteria of the map amendment as established in code and that city staff, planning and zoning, and city council must follow does not review a specific development. It looks at the types of uses and densities that a specific zone would allow for, and if those uses and densities would blend with surrounding uses, as I have already explained. In this case, some surrounding developments already built or in progress of being built include the following. The Trail Creek Vistas apartments across Gaithy Drive from the subject property include 52 units. Trail Creek townhouses currently in process of development up the hill are planned for 62 townhome units. And the Oak Tree Manor mobile home community to the south includes 157 units. Other uses include single-family homes, a storage unit, an RV storage facility, and Sacagawea Park. With the amount of public interest regarding the rezoning of this property, I'll provide additional details of the timeline of this proposal as explained to me by the city's CDBG coordinator and grants manager. Annually, the city invites eligible nonprofits to apply for CDBG grant funding related to housing, public service, and public facility funding. In September of 2025, the city held a technical assistance meeting for those partners explaining the application process and available funding. NeighborWorks Pocatello submitted an application for CDBG funding to support a low-income housing tax credit project that would construct housing for low-income seniors, which is defined as those earning 50% area median income or below. This project would be similar to their Park Meadows or Park Meadows 2 project on South 5th. Currently, they are anticipating recreating Park Meadows 2 on the site. The CDBG program previously supported the NeighborWorks Pocatello LIHTC application for the Park Meadows project. LIHTC applications are highly competitive, and by having local support from a public entity, they can gain additional points on the application, making them more likely to be awarded. The city's CDBG funding has become increasingly limited, and there was not sufficient available CDBG funding to support the NeighborWorks Pocatello LIHTC application in a way that would provide points on the public support section. However, the city informed NeighborWorks they would work on potential other options and ways to support the project, as affordable housing is a primary goal of multiple city plans and projects, including Comprehensive Plan 2040 and the Housing Plan. Donation of property or long-term leases of publicly owned land can count toward the public support section. So the city proposed a long-term lease of public land as an alternative to a CDBG grant and began working to identify city-owned parcels that may be adequate for the project. The parcel on Foothill Boulevard rose to the top as it was not already utilized and did not have plans for use. The other top parcels including land near Ross Park Zoo, which was public park land used by Parks and Rec for material storage, and the recently acquired parcel across from the water shop over on North Arthur. But the community garden project was already approved for the site, and it was unknown at the time where the gardens would be located. This project was presented to City Council at the work session in May, and council was in favor of moving forward with the process. The parcel is approximately 19 acres, and NeighborWorks Pocatello only needs 2 acres for the project. The remainder of the parcel can be used for a variety of other city goals as identified in the comprehensive plan, the CDBG consolidated plan, housing plan, and/or the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails plan. The project aligns with several city goals, particularly addressing the need for affordable housing as articulated in the adopted CDBG Consolidated Plan, Comprehensive Plan 2040, and the Housing Plan. Notice for this public hearing was posted on the subject property and published in the Idaho State Journal on July 28, 2026. All property owners within 300 feet of the subject property have been provided notice of the hearing. Staff has received written comments regarding this agenda item, which you have already received in your packet. In consideration of the application, staff concludes that the proposed zoning map amendment and future land use map amendment is compliant with City Codes Section 1702-170E and 1702-120C. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer questions the council or the commission may have.
Jim, for the record, and because I might have missed it, were there any public comments on this application or any additional written public comments that were submitted for the record?
All the comments received have been submitted to the commission.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
Sorry, can you clarify with the justification of changing the comprehensive plan? I mean, obviously that was developed for a reason and now we want to change it.
Yes. So within the code, there are 2 criteria for review and changing the future land use map. And so on page 4 of the staff report, those 2 include the following. If the request is to correct an error on the future land use map, and staff believes this is not an error, that we designate it as open space. And then the second one is if the request is to recognize substantial changes in the actual conditions of the area. And staff believes that since the adoption of the future land use map, several of these developments have occurred surrounding the property, which we believe is a change in the area in development. And so that's why we believe that it's justified to change the map to mixed use to complement surrounding development.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. When was that future land use map adopted?
Mid-2023.
Oh, so just in the past 3 years. And then my other question is, you'd mentioned that the way that the land is currently zoned, that they already would have the right essentially to develop this land and build up to 30 units per acre. Is that correct?
15 per acre.
Oh, 15 per acre,
So
so 30
total would
total.
be
So 30 total. Would that, let's hypothetically, if they had only asked for that, they'd not asked for a rezone, and they're just wanting to develop on this current, would this require us to also amend our future land use map?
No.
Okay.
The current legal use of the property is residential.
Okay. And in the staff review for future land use, it might say, well, it was designated open space, but, you know, we're blending into the surrounding areas. Is that
And that's what the review criteria discusses, is surrounding development.
right? Okay, thank you.
Other questions for city staff? I would like to remind each person, when you come to the podium, you must state your name. Please remember to only address the commission, not the audience or the applicant. You have 3 minutes to testify and will be asked to stop when time runs out. Keep questions and comments pertinent to the application and do not duplicate questions, concerns, or comments covered by previous testimony heard today. Is there anyone here tonight who'd like to provide testimony in support of the application?
My name is Robert Richway. I'm on the Board of Directors for NeighborWorks Pocatello. And on that board, I get paid less than you guys do. I'd like to address a couple of the questions you guys had. The first is regarding whether the project will go or not. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that in past years, we've applied for similar projects and other communities got them. It's a scoring system, a point system with the city involved. That helps us a lot. So that makes a lot of difference. The other thing I'd like to address is what the reason why we're doing this, and let me go into that. I don't. Right now, I'm told that there's a shortage of 670 units for seniors. This will help that situation, but as boomers age out, there's going to be more and more seniors looking for housing. People living on Social Security are not going to be able to pay the going rent rates in Pocatello, and that's what we're trying to help out with here. We're asking only for the 2 acres shown up there. We're not asking for the whole thing. And as far as what we're going to build there, it's already mentioned that Park Meadows 2, you can look at that. We've got pictures, 8x10 glossies with a paragraph on the back, if any of you know that reference. And so you know exactly what we want to do, where we want to do it at. We want to use the existing architectural plans for that building, and that will help keep the rents down. We want to do as much as we can to make affordable housing for seniors. So that's what we're trying to do there. And as has already been stated by Jim and Roger, there's been a great deal of work on this project already. A number of people involved. We looked at a lot of options, and we feel like this is the best location for it. I know everybody in this room wants the best for Pocatello. We think this serves the heart of the community. We don't want people living in cars or suffering from exposure. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to provide testimony in support of the application?
Evening, I'm Jim Blake. On that picture up there, I'm on that far south border, and I've lived there for 38 years. And what I've noticed is that all that construction up on the hill on Gathie, there's a whole bunch of these units going in up there. And right at the base of the hill, there's a whole bunch of them units that's got built. And so what's that's causing, and something I didn't hear anything about tonight, is things like the intersection of Gathie and Foothill. Used to be a straightaway and they put a loop in it. Well, you come to that, it's becoming congested and it's dangerous because of more traffic. And if you keep going to Foothill and Craft, then it becomes even more dangerous because there's 2 stop signs and then there's people coming off of North Main Extension that don't have to stop to cross Craft to get to Foothill. Have any of you been on that or experienced that yourself? If you haven't, go out and try it. It's quite interesting. It's almost NASCAR. Not to mention getting out on the North Main Extension. It's just almost impossible at certain times of the day. And then when you get people backed up from the stop sign to Craft, then on Foothill, and you're 8 to 10 cars deep, and you're wondering what's going on, and now they want to put 48 more units in the same area without any kind of traffic engineer oversight or plan. You know, more stop signs, stoplights, or something to create more of a safety environment. You know, it seems like, and from what I understand, they're talking about 1 bedroom, 1 bath, single family type units. 48 of them, figure average about 2 cars a unit. Does that sound like it's gonna make it any safer or better for anybody that lives in that area? One of the other concerns brought up earlier with a different proposal was, wildlife study. There's all kinds of deer trails right through there. And they're coming down every night. And I haven't heard anything about that, about how that's gonna be impacted. And then you talk about the beauty of Sacagawea Park. I don't think the parking lot to attend Sacagawea Park is big enough, but that's not what we're here for, but
Time.
it's,
Thank you.
yep, thanks for the chance.
Is there anyone who'd like to provide testimony in support of the application? Is there anyone who'd like to provide testimony uncommitted to the application?
Marjana Hewlett, 353 Washington. Good evening, Planning and Zoning members. I was a member of Planning and Zoning when we finalized our current comprehensive plan. Based on extensive public input, it clearly lays out what we want for our city. Its future land use map is used when properties are rezoned, so that the rezoning aligns with the comp plan's overall vision. Our citizenry and our city leadership approved that comprehensive plan as our valley, our vision. All changes to zoning should align with that future land use map. Now, the current future land use map says that we really wanted this particular piece of land, were it ever to be rezoned as open space. Not industrial, not mixed use, open space. Indeed, it really can't be rezoned to anything else without changing the future land use map, which I remind you is based on extensive public input. So why was this proposal brought tonight? What has changed? Have we decided we no longer care about open space? Do we really have so much open space that people are tired of it? A good compromise would be to rezone the entire 18 acres of this area as open space with 2 acres set aside for this development. That would be a good compromise. It would guarantee that the open space protections outlined in the comprehensive plan are honored while still allowing for some development in this case. I don't think the comprehensive plan is no longer relevant. I think our comprehensive plan still represents the best future we want to see for Pocatello, and it should not be changed just because a development comes along that disagrees with the plan. Even a development addressing an important worthy cause such as affordable housing. I have a bigger concern though. If you approve this action, it sets a terrible precedent. It will announce that if the right development comes along, we will happily abandon our long-range plans and our shared community goals. It will proclaim that our future land use map should be tucked away on a shelf and ignored. Bring the right development, this says, and we'll manipulate our comprehensive plan to help you move it forward. One of our past mayors, Roger Chase, did business this way. That's how we ended up with the Hoku plant where it was, a decision that continues to plague us to this day. He told me himself in person that a comprehensive plan was just a concept. It was never meant to be enforced or binding. That it was a vague, conceptual, pretty thing and not to be used for real city business. His attitude about the comprehensive plan pissed me off then and still pisses me off now as I think about it. If this proposal had come to you as part of overall changes in our area or new discoveries about resources, or that the land actually changed or that there was a mistake, that would be one thing. Our long-range planner has brought many map changes to this commission for those reasons. That is good governance. But changing the future land use map after development is proposed that disagrees with the map is a really, really bad idea. We have a current, recently updated comprehensive plan, and it's a good plan that lays out a clear vision for Pocatello. Please don't abandon that vision. Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to provide testimony uncommitted to the application?
Kathleen Eby. I live right at the very corner of Gaethie and Millward, which the very far left-hand corner is where my property, we have 1.25 acres there. We were part of the Bannock County until September of 2023. We have our own wells and our own septic tanks and everything there. And I'm not saying that I think it should be not there, but like that lady just said before me, I think we should designate all of the other as open space, because we've lived there since when my parents bought, they had all that property. As a matter of fact, they donated a mile, the Millward Mile on Satchawea Park, they donated that for that. That's why we wanted to live there, because it was open spaces. And so I just think that I'd have no objection, except for I'm gonna be yelling at the construction guys, just like I did the ones that live right across the way, and all the garbage all over in my yard. But I just think we should leave the other part designated open spaces, because I think it would be very valuable I'm probably gonna be one of those people living over there, I don't know. But I just think that we need to leave our open spaces designated and just have those 2 acres designated as, I guess it's our CP. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others who'd like to provide testimony uncommitted to the application? Is there anyone tonight who'd like to provide testimony opposing the application?
Good evening. My name's Mike Sattel, and my wife and I visit the Sacagawea Park on quite a regular basis. I've listened to a lot of comments here tonight about that we're uncommitted to this project, but my general feeling is that I fully support everything that Marjana said about sticking to the comp plan. I know when we went through our valley, our vision, that as soon as quote unquote all the public comment was in, why developers came out of the woodwork and basically whittled it down to basically nothing. And so we've gone through that whole process again, and we've got something that's manageable. And I think we owe it to a lot of people who spent time on that to adhere to that. I have a question about this map that's up on here. So it looks like the map is colored yellow. Is that a reflection of the current zoning? Or is that a reflection of what is being proposed?
That is current zoning as it sits.
Okay, and what is the difference between the zoning and the permitted use? Are those the same thing?
They're not, and that would be a question for city staff.
Okay, so it seems like those two terms get used back and forth. I think it's designated use is open space, but it's zoned for residential. So is there a zoning for open space? Is that true? Okay, if that's the case, then I would stand with this notion that this area needs to be zoned as open space to both permit a wildlife corridor and a human corridor. Somebody said that the intention for this was to be walkable. I would like to have anybody show me where this unit that's shown up here in this black rectangle has any walkable features in that whatsoever, because it's certainly not Foothill. And even the access to the park, I mean, yeah, there's a trail down there, but it's connecting to other parts of the park. It doesn't necessarily connect to any other areas. And Foothill, I'm sorry, it's not walkable. And then the other thing that was mentioned is parking and traffic. I got to reiterate what the gentleman said earlier. The intersection, both at whatever's Gaethie and that new intersection, and then also Craft Road and Foothill Road and North Main, is an abomination, and I encourage anybody on this council for any future development in the area to put a halt to it, because that landslide is just about to happen, and something needs to be done with that before anything else happens. Thank you.
Marcus Heidemann, good evening. I would like to say currently the city's GIS mapping and the PROS plan lists this whole area as part of Sacagawea Park. This rezoning must be opposed. The agenda packet from May 14th claims it is in line with the city's authentic and affordable vision. Rezoning this parcel is not authentic to the neighborhood. RCP hides the fact that this is for a project that is high-density residential. The neighborhood has been historically single-family homes until very recently, when fourplexes were built, which are not high density. There are no sidewalks in this area, making it unsafe for people walking here because of the added traffic and the narrow roads. The general public values this parcel being undeveloped when they are at Sacagawea Park, where they can view wildlife and escape the city. Rezoning this destroys remaining open space and the neighborhood's historical identity and does not embrace it. It weakens the neighborhood and what the residents here appreciate about it. There are more suitable parcels that the city owns that can be rezoned for a high-density project like this. For example, across the river, next to the water department, the city owns approximately 7 acres, minus 1 for the community garden, 6 acres. There are sidewalks, and it is on the main arterial road. In 2021, the city surveyed the residents, and overwhelmingly the people want, and the comprehensive 2040 plan confirms that the #1 goal is to be an outdoor-oriented city. This is not outdoor-oriented. I talked with my neighbors around Sacagawea Park and people at events in Old Town this weekend, and people are against this being rezoned and opened up to development. As of tonight, I have gathered 389 signatures of people who are opposed to rezoning this parcel. Most people assumed this parcel is a part of the park. This is the only remaining space along the Portneuf River in Pocatello near Old Town that is not developed. And the beautiful thing is this parcel is right next to an existing park. This land should be protected by the city, become a part of Sacagawea Park, and not rezoned and developed. The city should prove to us and confirm its goal of being outdoor-oriented. They can connect the existing West Bench neighborhood and the intersection of Gaethie and Foothill Boulevard to the paved trail at Sacagawea Park, connecting existing neighborhoods to the Greenway and protecting natural resources. These are all listed goals in the 2040 plan. Imagine the year 2040 when the West Bench is looking more like the East Bench. Our children and grandchildren will be glad if this parcel is protected and a part of Sacagawea Park, not rezoned for high-density residential apartments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Julia Miller, and I'm here as a concerned citizen. I used to live in low-income housing. I know exactly how important it is, but I just think that this specific area is extremely dangerous to the environment and to the residents that are going to live there. They stated that it is a floodplain and a stormwater containment pond near there. In 2017, 2023, and 2024, Sacagawea Park flooded. They uprooted trees. They had, at least like in some areas along the trails, just 10 feet of mud deposits, and that's just not safe for anyone to be there. Nonetheless, people who are elderly and cannot traverse that very well, as well as the construction that it will create. Since it is such a steep elevation, there's going to be a lot of runoff that goes right into the Portneuf River. There's a few estimates through the Iowa Water Center saying that construction site sediment can be about 10 to 20 times higher than agricultural lands, and per acre per year, it can be 20 to 200 tons of sediment and pollution that is put into the Portneuf River, which is a part of the Portneuf watershed, which accesses several counties as well. And that's just very dangerous as it goes into our groundwater. It comes up. There's several chemicals that are through construction that get through drinking water and private water filters through wells, and that's just very dangerous to have there. As well as the comprehensive plan does mention caring about our parks on page 28. They clarify identifying and existing parks and incorporating recreation facilities to meet local needs, recognizing and promoting the city's recreation systems and facilities as important economic development, maintaining active partnership and continued acquisition and maintenance programs of the Portneuf Greenway Foundation, and collaborating with local regional opportunities, funding, and consistency between entities' visions. So it fits along with the code as well. And then in East Idaho, we've seen a significant amount of housing. We are the #1 in the nation for housing right now. Normally it's about, we've seen like a 5% increase. Idaho is 17. It is a huge increase for housing opportunities, and while I do think this is an incredible opportunity, I do believe that there's other areas in Pocatello that will not be affecting the Portneuf River, that won't be endangering the residents that live there, and also fits the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
It's a race.
I'm Linda Sanborn. I live by Sacagawea. I walk there every day. It just makes me sad that what's gonna happen to all the deer, all the wildlife, all the pheasants that are in that area? You don't see them very often, but you know they're there. And it's a joy to walk and see all the deer. There is a vacant lot behind, there used to be a trailer court. It's at the corner there of Oakwood and Cottonwood and Aspen and Riverside, where they all come together. That was a trailer court. There has got to be water, sewer, electricity there. So if you want to build something, put it there. There's trees in that area. There's no trees where this is. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ralph Heckard, and I live very close to that, and I've been there over nearly 40 years now. And I have just two comments. One is, prior to Mr. Hackett's assertion, it's not just an old gravel pit, it serves as a valuable recharge source for our well. And we have a well within a quarter of a mile of there, and former gravel pits have a high infiltration capacity and a storage capacity. Those two factors combined contribute to a significant recharge when there's massive water runoff. So we get a lot of help from that. We went through the Snake River adjudication process back in the early 90s, and we've got enough water associated with our well for 100 homes. So, and we own that piece of property that's in the green there too. We got no notification about this whatsoever, and we've talked to everyone on the south border and everyone on the north border. No one got any notification about this. So those are the two things. So anyway, before you just chalk it off to being an old gravel pit, consider what function it performs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Popelka, and I live in the area. This is a very unfortunate process. I support NeighborWorks 100%. I know the value of their work. I know how important this is. I think it's very unfortunate that the open space designation of this parcel is being disregarded completely. Everybody looks at that document and they read it as it's going to be preserved as open space. They do not read it as it's zoned whatever. Sacagawea Park has the same zoning. Does that mean they're going to be able to put apartments there? So as a member of the public, that's the question I have. Is that going to happen? I think the other thing that hasn't been touched on is that this is an incredibly unique parcel. It was originally intended to manage water runoff coming from future development when it was transferred to City of Pocatello in 2002. Runoff will increase as development increases, so that's something to be aware of. The other thing is this would, if this was combined with Sacagawea Park, it would create an incredible conservation area, similar to Edson Fichter. Edson Fichter is owned by the state of Idaho. It's heavily used by the public. It's a beautiful natural park. Just because we don't have lawn and mowed grass, that's not the criteria for open space. This kind of an area contributes a tremendous value to the entire community. And I think that it's important to preserve that for future generations. And I'm just going to read one of the key elements from the Portneuf Comprehensive Plan 2040. Pocatello embraces its connection to nature through the preservation of outdoor spaces and expanded recreational opportunities that are connected and accessible. From the comprehensive plan under the category of authentic and affordable neighborhoods. Challenges to our community are that increasing inequity. So removing open space from our lower income neighborhood, all of the open space is moving south and east up, and it's not accessible to our to the apartment dwellers that will be living here. It's no longer accessible if we start developing this parcel. I'm not opposed to NeighborWorks at all. I'm not opposed to the apartments. I think the location across the road, across the river is a better location. The community garden only has 1 acre designated. I don't know if it will ever develop into 7 acres. So I believe that's a better location, but thanks.
Are there others who'd like to provide testimony opposing the application?
She mentioned Edison Fisher Park.
Sorry, would you state your
Oh,
name,
I'm sorry,
please?
Jen Hendrickson.
Thank you.
She mentioned Edison Fisher Park. Very interesting point on that park.
I'm going to pause you for just a minute. Sorry, it's a procedural thing. We have
Okay.
to get our clock started. Okay, go ahead.
Great.
Thank you. Sorry.
I went to grade school at Indian Hills. As a student, they used to take us to the wetlands next to Indian Hills. And that was a big deal. They did that a lot. Now, it's a soccer field and a fire station. It was supposed to be open space. It was supposed to be wetlands protected. Okay, so consider that when you consider this open space. Okay, we have been down this path before and it was not respected. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other testimony opposing the application tonight? Is there any rebuttal from the applicant? Any rebuttal from the applicant? No. Okay, great. Well, then I declare the public hearing closed. How would the commission like to proceed? I would entertain a motion. I'm sure there is discussion. I'll entertain that as well.
Can I ask Jim a clarifying question?
Please, that'd be great.
Jim, are we asking to rezone this from open space to mixed use only for the 2 acres, not the whole 17 or 18, correct?
Correct. So this is the future land use map here. So just those 2 acres.
Okay.
But we're not rezoning it from open use, correct? Because it's currently,
The current zone is residential medium density.
So it's both. It's a rezone and then amending the future land use.
Correct. Yep.
Whereas if we wouldn't have to rezone, we wouldn't have to amend the future.
Correct. Like
land
your
use.
previous agenda item, it was just a rezone, not a change to the future land use map.
Can I ask the city code that was referenced under your 2 different reasons for changing future land use? The one was an error, the other was substantial changes in the actual conditions of the error. Is this word for word what that 17.2.120.c2? This is word
Yes.
for word what it says?
So in the staff report, that's verbatim from code.
Okay, because my question, I guess, and I don't know if this is, it's a silly question, but it says, if the request is recognized substantial changes in the actual conditions of the area, please describe the changes. I'm wondering what constitutes the area, because the way that you described it, it sounds like you're describing the surrounding area, but not the actual area of the piece itself that's being proposed for a future land use change.
If you look at other criteria in the code, when it talks about the property itself, it talks about, is the subject property, guess I could look at it. Is the subject site physically suitable for the type of intensity of uses? And so when it talks about area, that's been interpreted as surrounding area. Have there been changes to the surrounding area? And typically when we look at that, it's usually within close proximity. We look at, kind of the noticing area of 300 feet to kind of use that as a guide.
And so I guess the argument from the city is that because that immediate area surrounding this proposed change has increased in density, that it makes sense because there's already more developments there in that.
Correct, yeah.
That similar type.
Yeah, and since the adoption of the map, of the future land use map, there has been a change because of development. That's what the argument was in the staff report.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think that basically any open space can be changed because there's always going to be development around open space,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and that's why we go through this process.
There'll always be a justification to change open space to
Correct.
something
Yep.
else.
Yeah, as written.
City's code. in their
As
city's
written,
mind.
that's how as written, that's what the code is. Yep.
Assuming the city has any interest in pursuing that, which this is a rare,
Yeah.
right? I mean, how often does the city try and sell off a portion
Just
of a
depends how
park for
desperate they get.
Jim, I have a couple questions for you. First question, is this final decision or is this going to city council?
This is a recommendation to council.
Recommendation to council. Okay, thank you. That is important to note.
Would the commission be interested in hearing scenarios of different zoning?
I'm sure we would love all of the information that we can get.
Okay.
Before I forget, can I ask one other question?
Yep.
It was mentioned that several people felt that they did not receive the required written notice of this meeting. Can you confirm that that was actually, that happened?
Yes, we can confirm that.
Okay.
The notification area was based off the area proposed for rezone. And so the 2 acres, not the entire 19 parcel.
Great, okay.
And it's 300 feet around that radius, right?
Correct.
Which is like,
And we have documentation. If the public wants to request that, we can provide that.
I just wanted that on the record. Thank you. I assumed that was the case. We would love to hear proposals.
So just one quick comment. I do appreciate that the community is using the comprehensive plan. Previous comprehensive plans weren't seen that way. You never really heard about comprehensive plans. And since I was the one that helped draw the map and write the plan, I really appreciate the community using the comprehensive plan. So one question I wanted to respond to was the difference between zoning and the future land use map. The zoning is the legal use of the property. The future land use map helps guide rezones and future development. And so the future land use map has no legal bearing on the use of the property. That's what we use when we are recommending zones and things like that. And then we, in code with the review criteria to change the map, that's when we have to look at that of the surrounding development. Now, for the different types of zoning, currently it's zoned residential medium density multifamily, which by right could be developed with 15 units per acre. And that's without any zone change, map change, whatever. For residential commercial professional, that is 30 units an acre and also possible for some commercial. Now that what you see in the purple on the map is all zoned residential commercial professional. So right now, anybody that owns property there or a developer could come in and develop high-density residential, commercial uses, what have you, within the RCP zone without a rezone or public hearing or anything like that. And so thinking about, maximum build out, long range thoughts. Everything in the purple could be developed with high density residential in the future. And when we're looking at the review criteria, that's what we really look at, is what are the possible developments of the surrounding area, and that would be the possible 30 units, apartments throughout the whole purple area. That's, maybe worst case scenario, but it would be permitted by right. Now, the zone that corresponds with the land use designation of open space is what we call public lands facilities. And so if it were to be zoned, if this were to be changed from RMM to PLF, it's not as certain as an RCP zone. The RCP zone, it's clear what you're going to get in the zone. The public lands facilities says this. It says the purpose of public lands facilities is to satisfy general public needs by reserving land to accommodate public utilities, facilities, resource protection areas, and/or public infrastructure deemed to be of local, regional, state, or national importance. The permitted land uses in PLF include, but are not limited to, public uses, agriculture, cemeteries, detention facilities, heliports, and wireless communication facilities. And then it does require any proposal in a PLF would go through this same process of, and that would review the development. And so it would go through planning and zoning for a recommendation, and council would review it and make a decision. The one thing that the reason why staff proposed RCP instead of PLF is because it's an open book for uses. And it's really dependent on in the end, what the council wants to decide. And so there could be detention facilities, there could be, no matter unlimited density, it could be any type of use. And I would prefer that you have a predictable set of uses rather than just an open book of uses, because you still go through the same process. And so that's why staff recommended the RCP, because the RCP is surrounding that, and it's a set of more predictable uses.
Allows more control.
Yep.
I'd push back a little bit. RCP is pretty wide open. You don't know what you're going to get. Auto shop, you're going to get apartments. You don't know what you're going to get with RCP. So I'd push back a little bit on that, saying you know what you're going to get.
At least it's listed in the code.
I know, but I'm still, RCP is so wide open is the problem.
I think also, is this entire area owned by the city?
The 19-acre parcel in Sacagawea Park is owned by
Okay.
the city.
So, while you might not know what you're going to get, we know that the, taxpayers aren't going to be happy if they, put in like a detention center there, things like that. So there are some checks. Again,
Yeah, I would go
another
through the
just
same
little
process
pushback,
as
right?
we're here today.
Yeah. Okay. Because it would be the city that would either allow it, or they would do it themselves, or they would sell it off, something like that. And the plan right now is to lease this.
Yeah, the plan is a 99-year lease on this 2-acre piece.
Jim, it's not spelled out clearly, and so I'm going to ask. I'm going to read this just as it's written. The request is to rezone 2 acres, more or less, of the property to residential, commercial, professional, and to amend the future land use map designation to mixed use. The amendment to the future land use map would only be those 2 acres as well, right? That's what's not spelled out.
That's what's proposed, yeah.
So there's nothing necessarily keeping us from continuing to chip away at this space, this open space, really, at future meetings. So I did ask you before, sorry, circle back before you answer. I did ask you before that there haven't been any changes or map amendments to the future land use in this area, correct?
For this property, no.
Not for this property, but what about in this just general area?
I think everything else has remained the same on the future land use map. So when this Craft Road area was annexed a few years ago, it followed the mixed use RCP zone that it recommended.
Okay. Is it possible, like some people mentioned, actually changing this designation to mixed use? Is it possible it coming back as a whole package like that, where all of it's happening at once instead of like just not knowing for sure if this will get chipped away further?
Yes, you could. We would need to come back to rezone the whole thing if that was desirable, because we just noticed what the 2 acre so for the public hearing. Forgot what else I was going to say.
Would that zone be PLF or is there an open space zone?
The open space zone is PLF.
It is PLF, okay.
I will say too that within the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Plan, there is a goal in there for this particular site to have an open space plan. And I would recommend to council that they initiate that goal and create a plan to lay out exactly what they're going to use the site in full for. Whether it's housing or open space or whatever it may be, I think it's important to initiate that goal at this time, especially where this is proposed for development.
Other questions for city staff? Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you. Is there discussion you'd like to have?
I don't know, I have a problem with the RCP zoning, just because you don't know what you're gonna get. This could fall through and they could do something else with it. Just because everything is RCP around it doesn't mean this needs to be RCP. At some point, that RCP needs to stop somewhere. And then I just don't know if there's enough justification to change the comprehensive plan.
I think my hang up is really on the substantial changes to the area. I think that's fairly objective or subjective piece of the code. And I understand looking at the surrounding area. I used to drive that road all the time, taking my kiddo to preschool. And I've watched that development come up. And I mean, I know that there's some higher density developments in the area, but I don't think it's that staggering of a difference between that and across the street. So personally, I don't know that that I agree that the changes in the area are that substantial. I
You can
mean,
use that excuse anywhere.
yeah, and also love NeighborWorks, and I love this.
Yeah, it's a
I love
great
the
project,
development. Yeah, Park Meadows has been amazing for our community. And we love it and we want to have it. We want to have it in our community. So I'm really, really torn on this. But I really do
They can do
disagree
30
with that
units.
area.
They can do 30 units. It's on right now for 30. No. Rich, thoughts?
Well, yeah, I do have some thoughts actually. Mainly, it is what's our purview as the Planning and Zoning Commission, especially where this is a recommendation to the City Council, not our final decision to make. There's a whole application process here where the applicant is asked to satisfy certain criteria. And if they do satisfy that criteria, we don't really get to vote according to what we feel. We have no choice but to submit it, again, assuming that it meets that criteria. We submitted, it goes to City Council who, those are elected officials who get voted in to represent these people on decisions like this based on merit and how they feel their constituents feel. But we are bound by our obligation to the Planning and Zoning to submit these things if they meet the criteria. Now, Jessica brought up a good point, which is one of these is called into question, and it's 17.02.120 .c2. If the request is to recognize substantial changes in the actual conditions of the area, please describe the changes. And I think they do bring up a good point. It's subjective, like Jessica said. She says that she doesn't feel like it's changed. I think that you could easily make an argument the other direction. It has changed substantially. It was mentioned by one of the public comments that used to be a thoroughfare, and now there's a stop sign there to accommodate additional growth that could serve this. So I think that can go either way. I think other than that, it meets all of the other criteria for approval to City Council.
And if that one fails though, there are several of these others that passed based on that change. So there are, if it doesn't change, then this fails the review and this fails the review because there's, it requires that. It requires that change. So there's some things that hinge on it. Well,
Everything
okay,
on Gathie
one of them
is new, and then obviously the large apartment complex development that sits right there at the stop sign. And I don't know the count on that. I was here when we approved that. I don't remember. It's been years ago. But I would say there has been substantial development directly adjacent to this property. So it wouldn't be hard to satisfy that criteria to approve it to City Council. I feel dumb asking this question. Can we approve it for residential high density? I guess we can't because we can't do. Hi, Becky.
Becky Bad, Planning Manager. I'm assuming that question is directed at me.
Or who
Rich.
answer it, yeah.
The council, or the commission, excuse me, can only act on the application in front of them. Any modifications to the application have to come from the applicant itself. You could request the applicant reapply. You would have to waive some criteria in our code regarding those timeframes, et cetera, but the commission can only act on the application that is in front of them.
Let me ask you this. Could the applicant reapply for residential high-density housing and still satisfy the requirements? What would that allow him to do?
Residential high density would then allow any of those uses within that high density zone, which is primarily related to housing criteria. So it would limit the commercial and professional uses. I will comment to Commission Member Geyer's comment. Auto repair is not allowed in RCP. Some auto sales are, but there's a lot of auto. Yeah,
Jim mentioned an auto place. So.
Yeah, so I could pull it up if you'd like, so that you could see the differences between the two. But you can only act on the request that is before you as a decision-making body.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate you reminding us about that.
No thoughts, new guy?
I just have one other additional thought, and again, we're here just to recommend or deny based on the criteria before us. This is a city-owned property. I would probably feel a lot differently if it was privately owned. I heard what you said earlier, Adam, and I do understand that we always run the risk of our city leaders not doing what we feel is best in the city, but I feel confident that the only reason this is even being talked about is because it is a special use case with NeighborWorks. It's funded by grants. It's supporting a situation that the city has to deal with regardless. And I have full faith that our current leadership, and I can't, I guess, speak to whoever else, but whoever is at the helm of the city currently is not going to, if the NeighborWorks project doesn't go through, I don't think they're going to try and sell this off for profit. My personal thoughts, and that's not really that important, but as we've talked about, you know, what happens if Neighbor Works doesn't go through, or,
I would hope that'd be the case, but there's no guarantee.
yeah, there's no, and you're right. You're right. There's no
I
guarantee.
would agree with you, but there's no guarantee.
Yep. I will just remind everyone for the record, I'm not allowed to make a motion, so.
Can I ask you, Richard, so in talking about that area, sorry, my entire, I think, opinion hinges on this, you know, that change, the significant change. So to clarify, I wasn't saying there weren't changes. I'm just not sure that it maybe meets a threshold to justify that this rezone is necessary or the future land use is necessary. Do you have thoughts about that? Like,
Do I have thoughts? I want to make sure I understand it. Do I feel that the land use around this particular 2-acre parcel meets that this point that they've made about the significant housing development?
yes.
I do. I
Yeah.
absolutely do. I mean, that apartment complex, I'm calling it an apartment complex. I don't know if those are twin homes or if they're apartment homes. I haven't been up into that. I drive by it multiple times a week. For reference, just so everyone knows, I spent several years living on Trail Creek while my home in the university area was being rebuilt. And so I'm familiar with this whole area. Gaithy Drive, like I said, Gaithy Drive itself is new. For a long time, that property sat unused. Within the last 3 to 4 years, they've punched that road up there. They've developed it. You can see all the lots that have already been approved for development. I mean, just look at all of those that you can see on the map. And so, absolutely, it's seen significant housing development. I mean, if that's not significant, what qualifies as significant housing development?
And then does that justify the change, though? Because it's kind of a two-part.
Well,
It's like,
I mean, to me, the question is, how rigid do we want to be to the future land use map? And I understand we all put a lot of work into that. I understand wanting to not just throw it out the window at our convenience. And these things have to be weighed carefully. And if it was private development, I might feel differently, where I feel like this serves a underserved population. I don't know that anyone is here to profit off of all of this. I hear everything that everybody else is saying about we're losing open space. I hear that, but I think that their request for 2 acres out of 18, I believe was the number, isn't egregious, isn't major. It's not down. I spent a lot of time in Sacagawea Park as well. It's not in the area that I would consider to be, truly Sacagawea Park. Anyways, those are my thoughts on it. But yes, I think that absolutely, that development up there is significant.
So just to play like devil's advocate, say we were like, oh, come back, like you wanted the different rezoning in that area, wouldn't we still be hung up on that future land use?
because we would
So
still
like
have
it
to
doesn't make
amend it.
that change any different than this change,
Well, it speaks to Adam's point of what is allowed in there
right?
and what's not allowed in there. But you're correct.
But
It
like
doesn't
with
fix
the,
that.
with
Yeah.
the land use map, like
Yeah.
we'd have to decide
Yeah.
either way, because then we'd still have the same issue coming into the next
Correct.
one.
Right.
Correct.
And-
Sorry, go ahead.
You can go ahead. Well, and as you said, Adam, if they were to do a smaller unit, or, on the acreage that fits with the current zoning, they don't have to change the rezoning. It's already compliant. This whole staff review would be completely different. And, as far as future land use, we're like, well, it kind of blends into the area around it. And they could do that at any time, just, change their plans and submit it. And then we're still gonna have the same, same comments in opposition, but, which is not, the decision-making factor,
There's
but,
no decision to be made there. There's nothing we can do about it.
right.
There is nothing we do about it, and the property still gets developed.
Yep.
That's, yeah, that was my
Right,
point, yeah.
and so we're talking basically 18 units. Do we want to allow them to ask the city council if they can have another 18 units?
That's something they can ask the city council.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are elected, so,
Right.
and get paid.
Yep.
I mean, I think you just need to figure out where everybody's sitting so somebody can make a motion. Because
Go
I'm
ahead,
going to
Adam.
know, so.
I think I personally would like to see something
Second
come
your
forward to
motion.
protect that other, just as like a guarantee for people that are upset about.
Well, remember,
acres.
I think we would all like that, but
Right,
remember,
that's
we're
not
here.
what it's in front of me.
Yeah, we're here to
Yeah.
vote on whether or not this meets the criteria for approval to the city council.
Can we have the opinion of, until then?
Becky Babb, Planning Manager. I will just remind the commission that Jim did recommend that this board advise planning to move forward with an area-wide plan for that area. That could certainly be part of your discussion and directions to staff.
Meaning making a condition.
It wouldn't be a condition of this application per se, but it would be direction that staff begin the process of developing an area-wide plan for that neighborhood.
Would we include that as part of this motion or as a separate like agenda item?
It would be after your motion.
Okay.
So you would make your motion to approve or deny this application, and then you would direct staff that you would like to see that additional work done at the staff level to begin that planning process. Because that wouldn't be part of this application. It has bearing on this application, certainly, but you can only act on, with your motion, the application that is in front of you. But you can certainly direct staff if that is your concern. Councilwoman McCarg, you could do that. You could say that that's your concern going forward for the remainderage of that parcel, and that you would like to direct staff to take that initiative.
Thank you.
Where are you standing? You still know?
Mm-hmm. Where Jessica's going.
I'm sorry, you can't. The public hearing is closed.
It's considered a future phase.
So your argument is that it doesn't meet the, like, tell me your argument.
Well, I don't think RCP is necessary for this area, and then I don't think they just enough justification to change the comprehensive plan to open space. I mean, from open space to RCP. You know, Jessica's kind of the same way where, you know, you can say, because the surrounding area's changed, but you can use that excuse anywhere. You can, that's all objective. You can say, oh, they build apartments across the street, so now we can eliminate this open space on the other side of the street.
And on the other hand, it's roughly 10%. It's a little bit over 10% of this entire area.
Well, now.
And right now.
Yeah.
And it is not a very walkable area. Like, I don't think it's an area that's currently in use, but we asked before, that is something that is going, there's a plan eventually, and I guess we can direct that, like, them to speed up that plan to develop that a little bit more, but I don't know.
I'll again just share that I'm not allowed to make a motion as chair. But I'll just share some of my final thoughts on it unless there's more discussion and questions. But I don't see how this doesn't meet the criteria for approval. with all due respect to all of the
Aren't we supposed to
concerns.
stick to the comprehensive plan too? Isn't that part of our job?
Yes, but there is a,
I know, I'm just saying, isn't that part of our job?
agreed 100%. Yes, we should, however, there is, as there should be, a process.
Right, which is subjective. like you said.
Subjective.
So it could go,
Yeah.
so just
And-
kind of depend which way you agree on.
Yep, 100%. And I would encourage any one of you to make a motion. How you feel.
Nose goes.
And
Andy's gonna make a motion.
I'm going to.
'Kay.
Yeah, I move to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment, application from Ryan Hackett to rezone the subject property from residential medium density to multifamily, to residential commercial professional, and to amend the future land use map designation of open space to mixed use, finding the application meets the standards for approval under 17-170E of the Pocatello City Code, and authorize the chair or vice chair to sign the findings of fact and recommendation.
thank you, Annie. Without a second, motion fails.
Are you gonna motion now?
So do fellow council members, do you guys not believe this meets criteria, or are you looking more at the proposed development?
Oh, we don't look at the development. We're looking at the rezoning. It doesn't matter what the development is. We have to look at the zone, what they're trying to rezone to.
So,
Doesn't matter what the development is or who the applicant
correct,
is or anything, so
but this does meet
I don't believe
code
it does,
requirements.
so. Okay,
And
I'll move the motion to recommend denial of the zoning amendment application for Ryan. Wait, am I on the right one?
Yeah, you are.
Ryan
Yep.
Hackett, finding the application does not meet the standards for approval under section 17.02.170.e Pocatello City Code. This does not meet the comprehensive plan, and we don't believe it meets the criteria for modification to the future land map, and authorize the chair or vice chair to sign the findings of fact and recommendation.
I second.
I have a motion made by Guyer and a second by Chaddick. Aislinn, will you call the vote, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Hard. What are you thinking?
Yes.
No.
Yes. You didn't call for me. No.
Still carries. That's okay.
It's already been a long week.
Okay, with that, we will adjourn the meeting.
I don't want to keep this.